afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at this Young Marine Biologist Week. And my name is Cheryl, and I am your host for today. Now, this event is organized on behalf of the Marine Conservation Group of the Nature Society Singapore, and also known as the NSS. Now, NSS is a non-government and non-profit organization dedicated to the appreciation, conservation, study, and enjoyment of the natural heritage in Singapore, Malaysia, and the surrounding region. So the Young Marine Biologist talk sessions are happening from today, 14th of December to 18th of December, from 1 o'clock to 2 p.m. Every afternoon, 1 hour. So it's for the whole of this week, Monday to Friday. So each day, a panel of young marine enthusiasts aged 6 to 14 years old, they would be sharing very passionately about the marine animals that they love, together with a marine expert, a scientist, or a researcher. Now, our topic for today is about the horseshoe crab, and we are pleased to have on board with us Leicester Tan. Okay, so Leicester, first let me introduce our moderator, Leicester Tan. Where is he? Lester? Yeah, he's waving there. Okay, Leicester has been volunteering with horseshoe crab conservation projects for the past 11 years and currently leads the horseshoe crab rescue and research program in NSS since 2017. He is dedicated and passionate about the marine environment, constantly learning and advocating about these animals and their habitats actively through the citizen science. Okay, Leicester is currently the vice chairman of the Marine Conservation Group and a member in the executive committee of NSS. He is also a member of the International Union for Conservation of Nature, Species Survival Commissions. We call it in short, IUCN SSC. Now, horseshoe crab species the specialist group SSG and the Asian horseshoe crab working group in the region is a mouthful. A lot of so he's basically member in all these committees. Now next, let me introduce the young panelists today. We have with us today. We have Delvin Yap. Okay, Delvin, where are you? Wave. All right, that's Delvin Yap. He's 9 years old from Yumin Primary School. So Delvin's favorite subject is science, and he loves reading young scientists, magazines, and also storybooks such as Geronimo Stilton and Harry Potter. He is amazed by how an immortal jellyfish turns back into polyps and the very cool ways they adapt to their environment. Okay, next we have Justin Lim. Where's Justin? Where are you? Oh yeah, that's Justin. All right. Justin is 13 years old. He is from ACS Independent. Now, Justin enjoys sports and play football and softball. He is also part of his school's Philharmonic Orchestra, where he plays the violin. He also loves to read and play video games. He enjoys visiting the wildlife parks because he likes watching animals in their natural environment. He finds marine animals even more intriguing because the oceans are just so diverse. He is very fascinated by all organisms living in the underwater world. Okay, next, the third one, we have Muhammad Naufa. Where are you, Naufa? Wave? Yes, that is Muhammad Naufa. He is 12 years old from Yumin Primary School. Now, Naufa enjoys learning about marine animals. He is much concerned about the large consumption of plastic and plastic pollution in the ocean. He feels for the marine animals as their lives are threatened. He is passionate about spreading the message of protecting our marine animals and taking action to change our lifestyle so as to reduce the usage of single-use plastic. Okay, next we have Ria Chabra. Where are you? Ria? Okay, Ria is there. Now, Ria is 13 years old. She's homeschooled. Now, Ria's favorite subject is science, and the most memorable place she has visited was the Alleppey backwaters in India. She is disturbed to find out about the gradual disappearance of the coral reefs off the Gold Coast of Australia. Now, the coral triangle in Indonesia and Fiji, all right, that is the coral reefs of the Gold Coast of Australia, the coral triangle in Fiji, in Indonesia and Fiji. So when not learning and discovering new things in science, Ria also loves music. She plays the piano and loves singing. Okay, next panelist, we have Janelle Pan. Where are you, Janelle? Wave. Now, Janelle is there. Now, she is 10 years old. She's from Yumin Primary School. And this girl loves Hainanese chicken rice. Now, her hobby is painting using watercolors. Janelle enjoys knitting, crocheting, embroidering, and sketching. She is fascinated by marine animals and what they are capable of. Her favorite marine animal is the dolphin, as she thinks they are clever and good at tricks. She likes going to the library to read about these animals so that she could expand her knowledge. Okay, so the last young panelist we have here is Leah Thorpe. Leah, where are you? Okay, Leah is there. Okay, she is 14 years old and she is from SJI International. Leah is an active volunteer with a few organizations such as the Intertidal Watch and the NUS Toddy Cats. She has also participated and volunteered for the Southern Islands Biodiversity Survey with NParks. She has organized her own beach cleanup with her scout group and participated in the International Coastal Cleanup of Singapore. In short, we call it ICCS every year. And she thinks marine animals are cute and octopus are very smart. Okay, so now I will hand the time over to Leicester. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Cheryl, for the nice introduction. Let me share my screen first. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen. So just going to share about what I do for horseshoe crabs in Singapore. I'm Leicester from Horseshoe Society, part of the Marine Conservation Group. So I'm also the lead for the horseshoe crab rescue and research program. So what we do at the program, we talk about how it started first. So it started all the way back in 2007. Actually, the place was discovered by a group of bird watchers. They were there on the mudflat trying to find some shorebirds. And while looking for shorebirds, they tend to see a lot of abandoned nets around on the mudflat. And within the abandoned nets, they saw horseshoe crabs in it as well. So it was very fascinating for them at first where they didn't really know what it was. Some of them seeing it during their childhood. And to have them all trapped like by the hundreds, they started rescuing the horseshoe crabs. So they started cutting out the nets, rescuing the horseshoe crabs on top of the activity of bird watching over there on the mudflat. So as it goes on, they decided to do a program out of it to rescue the horseshoe crabs. So they decided to start a rescue program for horseshoe crabs where volunteers will head down there to cut off the nets and rescue the horseshoe crabs. And as the years goes by, we decide to learn more about the horseshoe crabs itself, since they're always there. And we're there freeing the horseshoe crabs on the nets to really find out, understand more about the horseshoe crabs. So we started with a very basic population density count. So what we do is to head out there and count horseshoe crabs. How many horseshoe crabs are there on the mudflat, if there are males or females. And we started taking down all of this data. So right now the program has evolved into a citizen science program where members of the public can come in and help us out. Right before COVID-19, we used to do it monthly. We would just head out there to the mudflat, we try to find horseshoe crabs, we sit them up, we measure them, we genderize them as well. So what gender are they? Their size, and we start counting how many horseshoe crabs are there within our transaction areas as well. So where we go to is on a mudflat. These are all mangrove horseshoe crabs that can be found on a mudflat. And you might be wondering, what is a mudflat then? So we talk about the program. Just a brief mudflat. Mudflat is just a flat ground with lots of mud on it. literally how a grassland would look like if it's grass, but this is just mud. And these are the different species that can be found on the mudflat as well. So not just horseshoe crabs that were there, like I talked about the shorebirds, and then we have different other intertidal species like crabs, mussels, worms, and anemones as well. So where we go specifically is in the northwestern part of Singapore, where we do the horseshoe crab rescue and research program. And this is where it is exactly, the right circle at the Kranji Mandai mudflat. So it's at the Kranji Bund. It used to be a fishing jetty. Right now it's no longer a fishing spot anymore. It's all behind a log fence. So apart from just measuring them, we used to rescue them, like I said. So as the years goes along, after the fishermen left the place has been fenced up, we don't have a lot of rescuing to do anymore. We don't get abandoned fish nets as often. So we're just a lot on research and finding more about horseshoe crabs, what they do, how they move. And all of this data has allowed us to publish at least 5 papers over the years. So if you're interested, you can have a screenshot of this and look up on these papers to read up more about horseshoe crabs. And on top of that, in 2012, we went to the IUCN World Congress in Korea, and we pushed a motion for horseshoe crabs so that horseshoe crabs can be better researched internationally and also protected. And on top of that, the mudflat right now is also conserved as a nature park as a subsequent result of the horseshoe crab research, on top of all the other research like the mangrove trees, the shorebirds as well. And finally, we have the nature park right now at the Mandai mudflat. So yeah, this will be the end of my presentation. Okay. So we do have some questions. Perhaps the moderator can answer some of them, yeah? So the first question is, what do you think horseshoe crabs are used for? So generally, what do we use horseshoe crabs for? All right, we have Delvin. You want to answer?
Huh?
You raise your hand, right? If you want to answer the question, what do we generally use horseshoe crabs for?
To make LAL. We use the blood to make LAL.
Yeah, so we do collect horseshoe crab blood to create LAL. So LAL is just a chemical component that we call, named after the American horseshoe crab. And we use that to, what do you think we use that for? Kevin, do you know why we use the LAL for?
For detection of bacteria on medical equipment.
Yes, okay, so very good. Yeah, so it's for the detection of bacteria, for all the medicines that we use. So we use to detect all the bacteria before we have all these medicines in the pharmacy. So we move on to the next question. Do you think horseshoe crab is dangerous? Will it harm anyone with a spiky pointed tail? Any of the moderators want to take it?
No, not moderator.
Sorry, panelists, sorry. All right, Delvin again.
The tail is not dangerous. They use it to flip themselves up if they are flipped upside down.
Yeah. Then we have the next question. Do you think we can eat horseshoe crab? Can we have Ria?
Yes, actually, we can eat horseshoe crabs. For example, when I was doing my research about the horseshoe crab, I noticed on YouTube there are many videos about people using the flesh of the horseshoe crabs and actually cooking them. So clearly we can eat these horseshoe crabs and they are not dangerous. And based on your previous question, you asked whether their tail is poisonous or whether they are poisonous. Actually, they are not. The spiky tail actually kind of deceives you because it's actually not it's not going to sting you. So we should also not dangle, if we find a horseshoe crab, we should not dangle it by the tail, because if the tail breaks, it's helpless after that, and then this will cause it to like probably die in a few hours or days. Thank you.
All right. Very nicely answered. So, if we can eat horseshoe crab, do you think we should eat horseshoe crab? Rhea, do you think we should eat horseshoe crabs if we find out that we can actually eat horseshoe crabs and villagers actually
No,
cook them?
no, we
Why?
shouldn't.
Why not?
Well, because you know that's considered poaching, I guess, because you are kind of, you know, you're actually killing the animal to eat it, and I think that's the wrong thing to do, because those animals are just like us. They're living things too, and they deserve to live a, a full life without being like used for humans by humans.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So on to the next question. What other animals eat horseshoe crab then? So apart from us, that we poach and hunt horseshoe crab, who else eat horseshoe crab? Because they look very hard and they seem to be very well protected, right, with their hard shells. Who do you think then eat horseshoe crab? Let's see, we have Rhea again.
Actually, the adult horseshoe crabs have only two predators, which would be sharks and turtles, apparently. But the eggs and hatchlings are eaten by many other creatures. So, like, quite a few creatures can actually settle on a horseshoe crab, which include slipper snails, barnacles, and keelworms, and other like plants and animals, and other encrusting plants and animals, basically.
All right, thank you. So the next question will be, where do horseshoe crabs live, and in what kind of habitat can we find them?
It's okay if I answer this question.
Yeah, sure, Justin.
Okay, so basically I think at different stages of their life cycle, they live at like different parts of the shore, but in general they live in salty or brackish water, like in mangroves or muddy areas near the coastline. So basically the eggs are laid on the beach or then close to shore. Then the young, once they hatch, they'll stay in the shallower waters. Then after about 2 years, they'll move into deeper waters. So eventually they can find food, in deeper waters, not just at the shoreline and shallows.
Do you happen to know which species of horseshoe crab you're referring to, or is that all the species of horseshoe crab?
I think depending on like their look, for example, like the mangrove horseshoe crab, I think instead of the coastline, yeah, maybe it'll stay closer to the bank, the river bank, like the land in the mangrove. But then I think for example, the Atlantic horseshoe crab lives more to the beach side, then it will stay on the beach.
Thank you. All right, we have the next question. So we talk a lot about how horseshoe crab behaves and all. So do you think we have horseshoe crabs in Singapore? And how much do we know about the horseshoe crabs in Singapore? We have delving again.
We have 2 species of horseshoe crab in Singapore.
Which 2 species of horseshoe crab do you think we have? Do you know?
The mangrove horseshoe crab and the coastal horseshoe crab.
All right. Tell us, how much do you know about any of these horseshoe crabs? Pick one horseshoe crab and share with us more about the horseshoe crab.
Not really.
Not really. Anyone else? Any other panelists? Justin?
Okay, I think for the 2 species in Singapore, like the mangrove and coastal, these 2 species depend. Some people like have different names for them. So for the mangrove horseshoe crab, this is actually the smallest species of horseshoe crab. So the females are around like 30 cm from head to tail, and males are slightly smaller. So I think these 2 horseshoe crabs, they have roughly the same distribution. So like, for example, they can be found in South and Southeast Asia, in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. So they can be found all the way from India and China, for example, all the way down to Singapore and Indonesia.
Very good. All right. We'll move on to the next question. We talk about whether horseshoe crab can be eaten earlier on. So now we want to find out, is it illegal to kill or actually collect horseshoe crab? Do you think it's illegal to kill or to collect horseshoe crab? Any of the panelists? Any of the panelists want to answer this question?
Janelle like to answer? Janelle or Naufa like to answer? Or even Leah would like to answer?
So it's illegal in Singapore because there's like some law to say that there's no poaching. So you can't take any wild animals from any wild areas in Singapore. So yeah, stealing horseshoe crabs is illegal.
Right. Okay. So why are horseshoe crabs why are scientists collecting horseshoe crab blood then? Like, after collecting, do the horseshoe crabs bleed to death as well? So why do people harvest horseshoe crab blood?
So when they take the horseshoe crabs, they bleed out only like 20% of their blood. And by law in the US, you're meant to release them. But unfortunately, about like 10% die during the process. So they're not killing all of the horseshoe crabs for blood. And so like 90% of them go back, which technically is okay, but
Okay. So the next question then, what's the lifespan of a horseshoe crab and why do they reproduce? We have Ria.
So generally, the lifespan of a horseshoe crab is about 20 to 30 years old. But they only reach sexual maturity at about 9 to 12 years old. So basically what happens is that a female horseshoe will lay about 4,000 eggs approximately on her annual visit to the beach. Then the eggs hatch and the juvenile horseshoe crabs will then periodically shed their shells as they grow bigger. And then then it explains why they go into the sea and how they come back later at about 10 years later to reproduce again.
All right. So okay, we have the next question. Next question will be, why do horseshoe crab need to molt? Maybe we can have Naufa to answer. Why do you think they need to molt? Can Alpha answer? Are you there? Okay, we have another panelist to answer then. Why do you think horseshoe crab needs to molt? Why do they need to come out from their shell? Why do they need to? Okay, we have Rhea again.
I guess the horseshoe crab, like when they molt, it's like because every time they molt, they grow about 20% to 25% larger. So they will need to molt to shed the previous shell, which has become too small.
You have to help
for them.
Leicester because he is not, yeah.
Okay, I'll just continue from where I stopped. But basically they need to molt because they need to get rid of the shell, because the shell will not grow with them. It's a bit like clothing. You need to get new clothing every time you grow because the previous clothing will not fit you anymore. So it's the same with the shells. They need to keep shedding their old shells and growing new ones to make sure that the shells fit their body. So that's basically the process of molting for horseshoe crabs. Thank you.
Okay. So we have an easier question next. How old are horseshoe crabs?
Sorry, Leicester, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, how old are horseshoe crabs?
How old?
Yeah, how old are horseshoe crabs? We have Naufa, perhaps, to answer.
Their species is about 445 million years old.
Great.
Janelle, would you like to add on? How old do you think is horseshoe crab now, other than what Naufa has mentioned? Janelle? Yep. Okay, never mind. Then we can have Leicester. You want to carry on?
Yeah, so you're right about 445 years, but right now they are about 480 already as we move on along the years. So they're quite old. They live way beyond the dinosaurs. So before dinosaurs were around, the horseshoe crabs were around already. So these horseshoe crabs maintain their shape as well. So they didn't really change their shape, but they still look like horseshoe crabs. Then we have another question is why are horseshoe crabs listed as endangered in Singapore? Like, why are they listed as endangered or vulnerable? Why do you think so?
Justin wants to answer, but before Justin answer, can we get Janelle to say whether you want to say something about this first?
Maybe because of like beach development in Singapore, the horseshoe crabs won't have much space to spawn anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Okay, Justin, you want to add on?
Okay, I think also because like recently Singapore has done a lot of like reclaimed land. So then along the coastline, Janelle said a lot of the areas are being like populated and developed, so they don't really have that much space to live and reproduce.
Okay, anyone else would like to add on to why is our horseshoe crab being threatened in Singapore? How about Delvin? Others, the rest? Naufa, Ria, or Leah? No one. Okay. Then we have Leicester. Next question.
Yeah, so we talk about them having to live through different habitats. Maybe someone can list out what are the two main habitats that the horseshoe crabs of Singapore requires. What are the two main habitats that horseshoe crabs in Singapore actually live in?
So what are the two main habitats? Who would like to answer? Can we have Janelle again? Janelle, would you like to hear your sweet voice? Where are the two places where you can find horseshoe crab? Where is the habitat?
Like near the coastline or like in the shallow waters.
Anyone has a more specific answer apart from the coastline and shallow waters? Like for example, where can we find mangrove horseshoe crab?
Nafa, you want to add? Yeah, you have done a lot of research on it. No? Okay, how about the rest? Delvin, Justin, or Leah or Ria?
Mangroves.
Yeah, that's one.
Where else? Delvin, you want to add? Mangroves, can tell us more? Mangroves, where else can you find horseshoe crab?
Shoreline.
Shoreline. Okay, shoreline means what kind of water would it be?
Brackish.
Brackish water, that is in the mangrove, right? Okay, how about the other type of horseshoe crab? Where can you find them? Who else would like to add the other species of horseshoe crab? Put up your hands if you want to answer. Okay.
I think we have Ria.
Yeah, Ria.
So basically coastal, like if we take a look at the coastal horseshoe crabs, then we can find those at beaches or areas with the sand, because though they have special body features that are especially developed to bulldoze through sand and rough waters. So that's basically for the coastal horseshoe crabs. But like Delvin said, they're also found in mangroves. For the mangrove horseshoe crab, they're obviously found in mangroves, and I guess in swamps too.
Okay, right. Ria has given us quite detailed about the habitats of the two species, right? Leicester?
Yeah, so the mangrove horseshoe crab prefer to plow through mud flats as well, apart from just mangrove. So every mangrove is accompanied with a big plot of mud flats. So the mangrove horseshoe crab will head out to the mud flats to forage, to find food. Yeah. And like you said, they're all designed differently to plow through mud or to plow through, burrow through sand. Yeah, very good. Okay, so we got more simple questions. Is how many eyes do you think horseshoe crabs have?
Oh, that's interesting. Number of eyes. Oh, Janelle wants to answer. Come, Janelle.
They have 9 eyes. They have like 2 on the other side of their body too.
Where are the rest?
They have 2 eyes on the top, so it's like you can see them like it's like a face.
Okay. Any
more?
more?
Describe more?
Yeah. Any more to add, Janelle? No, we have, I think Ria has put up her hands. Right, Ria, you want to add on to it?
Yes. So basically, like Janelle said, a horseshoe crab has like a pair of compound eyes at the top of the shell, but it's not like an insect, because these eyes can't actually form an image. So they are mainly used to find mates. But then it also has 5 eyes on the top of the it has 5 simple eyes on the top of the shell, a series of light sensors on the top and side of their tails, so on the top and on the edges and sides of the tails, and also has a pair on the underside near the mouth, so just right here. But the eyes of the horseshoe crab are actually more sensitive at night when they are active and they're trying to seek out mates, and less so during the day. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Anyone, any panelists would like to add on to that? Nafa, I see you nodded your head. Do you want to add on? No, not now. Okay. How about Leicester? Do you?
Yeah. So anyone wants to tell more about the two eyes that you can find underneath the horseshoe crab? What do you think they use the two eyes for? Right underneath the horseshoe crab.
Delvin?
Oh, I see Delvin.
For help orientation.
Orientation underneath the horseshoe crab. To orientate for what? What do they want to find?
Direction.
Direction apart from direction. We have Justin. We have.
I think because their mouth is below, so then they also want to look for food with those two eyes. So basically they just walk, and then since their mouth is underneath, then the legs will like grind up the food and push it into the mouth. Then the eyes will be able to see what he's eating.
All right, very good. So for the next question, following the next question, then, do you think horseshoe crabs are crabs?
Okay, Nafa can answer that. Is horseshoe crab a crab?
Horseshoe crabs are not actually crabs, but they are actually water arthropods.
What do you think they are closely related to then?
Spiders.
Okay, right. Any more things to add, Nafa?
No. Thank you.
Well done for sharing. Okay, keep it up. We have some other panelists to add on. Any other? Oh, I see Darwin's hand. Okay, Darwin, yes, add on to it.
They're also related to scorpions.
Okay, scorpions. Okay, I heard that. Any more things to add, Darwin? How about the rest of the panelists? No? Okay, then back to Leicester.
Yeah. So, do anyone know why it's closely related to spiders and scorpions and not crabs?
Darwin again? Yes, Darwin?
They have no antenna or mandibles.
Anyone want to add on to that?
Is it because they're also like arachnids? Like spiders?
They are merostomata.
Okay, so they are more closely related to spiders and scorpions. That's all the reasons that we've given. So the easiest way to explain is that they have many parts of a leg to a mouth. So each part of a leg is attached to a mouth. So they don't have like us, like we said, we don't have the upper mandible and lower mandible, or the upper jaw and lower jaw, like all insects and all mammals have, and even birds. What they have is perhaps I shall ask the next question first, then I explain to you why it's more closely related to spiders and scorpions. Yeah. So the next question will then be, how many pairs or how many legs do you think horseshoe crabs have, and why do they need so many legs as well?
Who would like to answer? Other than Darwin, how about the rest?
8 legs.
Yeah, okay, 8. Okay, Darwin, you want to add on to 8 to it? Ria say 8.
They have 10. They have 8 walking legs and 2 pusher legs for pushing the food to the mandibles to crush it. Then they eat it.
Any more things to add to that? Okay, Justin.
Yeah, like what Delvin said, those two feeding legs, I think they're called like, is it Calicera or something like that? So the legs have bristles on them. So when the horseshoe crab walks, and then it'll grind up the food, and then these two legs will push it into the mouth. Yeah.
Okay, so that's how they get the food, is it? Okay. How about Janelle? Do you want to add on? Janelle? No, Leah? Leah? No, nothing to add? Naufa? No. Okay, so Leicester?
Yeah, so horseshoe crabs do have 10 legs as well. So with these 10 legs, each leg is attached to a piece of a mouth, like Justin said. So when they walk, they grind the food. So horseshoe crabs can only eat when they move, right? So each part of the leg is attached to a mouth, and therefore it's just like a spider and scorpions, where they have many parts of the mouth as well. They don't have just two mandibles. They have a couple of mandibles that help them crush food as well. So these are some of the similarities that they share.
Okay, so interesting, right? They only feed when they move. So when they are not moving, they cannot eat. Okay, we have the next question, Leicester.
Okay, so we have the next question that how do you think horseshoe crabs protect themselves? If we say that their tail do not contain venom, they are not venomous, they do not contain poison, then how do horseshoe crabs protect themselves?
Who would like to answer that? How do horseshoe crabs protect themselves? Nafa, you want to say something? I see you nodding your head. How do they protect themselves? What about who else have been quite quiet? Okay, Leah, you want to say something? How do they protect themselves? Imagine you are a horseshoe crab. How would you protect yourself? Okay, so anyone wants? If not, we'll go to Justin. Justin has put up his hand. Okay, Justin?
I think they can't really like fight and defend themselves. Basically, so I think it's just because the shape of their shell is like a wedge. So it's quite hard to like get underneath it, because underneath is the soft part. Then also, I think they're quite fast. I've seen one move at quite fast. So I think maybe they can defend themselves. I mean, they can protect themselves, but they cannot like defend themselves by fighting.
So they have an armor, is it? Like they have an armor protecting themselves. How about the rest? Do you want to add on? David? Yes, anything to add on? How else other than having a hard shell? Janelle? No, Naufa? Janelle? Yes? No. Okay, Ria, you want to say something? Yeah, okay, add on.
So basically, it's the spines of the horseshoe crab. Oh, sorry, I think my video went. Okay, sorry. So basically, the spines of the horseshoe crab are actually movable, and since they're spiky, they help to protect the horseshoe crab.
So we have the hard
predators.
shell and the spine. Sorry?
The spike.
From predators, yeah.
So apart from just the hard shell and the spike, what do you think other characteristics of their behavior help protect them from other predators as well? Do anyone have any clue if they have a certain behavior that they adopt to help protect themselves? Justin?
Yes, Justin?
Do they like bury into the mud, like just or the sand?
Yeah, so they do bury themselves into the mud and into the sand to avoid being eaten or being taken away by the predator. So they hide underneath, they try to camouflage the sand and the mud underneath. Yeah. Okay, so I think I don't have any more questions.
Okay. So Leicester has no more questions. How about the rest of the panelists? Do you have any other questions to ask? Yes, Justin? Justin, any question to ask? No, Dalvin? Anything you want to ask about the horseshoe crab before we end this session? No, how about Leah? Yeah. Any more question for Leicester? No. How about Janelle? Janelle, how about Ria? Yes, Ria has a question. Okay, Ria.
So I have one question. Is it true that the horseshoe crabs live in the midnight zone of the ocean?
Leicester?
Sorry, I don't quite understand your question. Do they live in where?
In the midnight zone of the ocean.
Midnight zone of the ocean. I don't quite get what it
Okay,
is.
well, I mean, okay, well, like the very bottom of the ocean. Is it true that they live at the very bottom of the ocean?
So yes, most horseshoe crabs goes into the seabed area, but they do not venture too far away. It really depends. They tend to stay much closer to shore, and that's why they end up as bycatch for many fishermen. And it's easier for fishermen to actually catch them because they just stay at the bottom of the seabed. As you go into the deeper parts of the ocean, those are the places that they used to swim around and migrate from one place to another. So those will be called probably
Thank you.
for them. Yeah.
Okay, last one, Alpha. Any question for Leicester? No question for Leicester. Did I miss any panelists? No. Oh, Justin. Yes, Justin. Last question, is it?
Yeah, sorry, I thought of a question. Like this one is just ask him about his personal experience. Like what is the largest horseshoe crab you've ever seen?
Oh,
The
interesting
largest horseshoe
question.
crab. So I haven't been to the US to see horseshoe crab. I've been to China, and I've seen the Chinese horseshoe crab or the Chinese horseshoe crab. They're literally really huge. I don't know if the camera can capture the whole thing, but it's really huge. Yeah, it's larger than my face. Definitely, it's larger than me. I'm quite skinny, so it might be larger than the kita that you have behind you, in terms of the width of your kita, right? So it's really huge for a full-grown Chinese horseshoe crab. Compared to the two horseshoe crabs that we have in Singapore, those are considered quite mini, actually. In fact, for the mangrove horseshoe crabs, it's just 1 palm size huge. It's really small. Yeah.
So Leicester, you're saying the one we have is about this. Most of them is about our palm size in Singapore.
Yeah,
But
for
the
the mangrove horseshoe crab.
huge one
Yeah,
can be
for the
as big as twice my head.
Yeah, the largest one I had was the Chinese horseshoe crab. That's really huge. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Justin, your answer. Yeah. Okay. So
Thank you.
now, yeah, thank you. So any more? No more. Okay. Now, so we will get go back to the other slides before we end this session. Okay. Okay, to the audience, thank you for joining us today. All right, let's see. We wait for the slides. Oh, okay. So that is the last slide. Okay, now, so, okay, let me just, before we end this session, okay, let me just talk a little bit about our marine conservation group, all right? Because the 5 days of webinars that we are doing now, okay, is done by the Marine Conservation Group. All right, so what is it? Okay, it is a special
I think you're muted.
Oh, thank you for telling me that. Right, I was muted. All right, before we end the session, I would just like to talk a little bit about the Marine Conservation Group. Okay, you know that our session today and for the next 4 days, we talk about marine creatures. Okay, they're actually organized by this Marine Conservation Group, the MCG, and it is a special interest group of the Nature Society Singapore, or we call it the NSS. All right, so NSS is formed in 1985 with the aims to encourage understanding and protection of the marine nature in Singapore and Southeast Asia. So MCG supports the society's activity advocacy and outreach functions and delivers scientific data needed for the conservation and management of our marine and coastal resources. Okay, so the group's activities are focused on limiting anthropogenic threats. That means things done by people, okay, human activities to the marine ecosystems, and include the endangered species monitoring. Okay, so that's why we are monitoring our horseshoe crab, and also ground up governance initiatives. Okay, so so now you see on the screen about what our MCG, our Marine Conservation Group in SSS is doing. Okay, so on top of this, can I have the next slide? Okay, so now you can see that these are the places where you can go to find out more about Nature Society and also more about Marine Conservation Group if you want to find out more. Of course, in NSS, other than the MCG, there are many other groups in there. You can go and find out more in any of these social media sites. Okay, then we have, okay, the last slide. Before you go off, we would like you to join us. If you would like to join us as a member, for those who are kids here, you may want to get the parents to join us as a member and as a member of our Nature Society. So you can get, you can like go for when we organize walks, talks, you can join, participate. And if you want to find out more about how to do it, you can go into our website, www.nss.org.sg website to find out more how you can join us today. Okay, so thank you the audience, thank you all the audience, and also our young panelists, and of course our young panelists for participating in our session today. Okay, and also we would like to collect feedback. So if you have any feedback for us, please do message us, email us. Okay, email us, or yeah, that's all. Okay, thank you all. I think so we'll end our session here since we have already any question before we can leave the session? No. So for those of you who have registered for our session tomorrow, if you would like to participate as an audience, you would receive a Zoom link for our session tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be doing our giant crabs. So our panelists today, okay, your session is over. So if tomorrow you want to find out more about the giant crabs, or Wednesday about sharks, or even Thursday, Friday, or different organism you would like to join us, register for it, and you will receive the Zoom link. Then you can join us as an audience. Like today over here, we have our audience. Some of them are actually the young panelists for other days. And also, of course, we have other audience from some school teachers and audience from elsewhere. Okay, now that is all I have. Thank you all for joining us here today. And good job, the young panelists. I know you have tried your best and we enjoy our session. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you again for other sessions. Okay,
Bye.
bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.